Here is problem number 1 on page 101. It says to consider the following linear function. If the function is linear, that means that its consecutive difference will be common at the first level. So I'm going to have to look at this function to that first level column, because they're asking me in my answer choices which statement is true. They want to know about consecutive differences. So I'm going to make myself a chart for that, and I wanted to let you see me draw one of these in case you should ever have to do it. You need a header row, so you can put in what you're going to look at in each column. So make a header row as wide as you think you need it. We're just going out to the first column, so you won't need a lot of space. The second column will need to be the biggest one. And I'm going to go, since I just have to go to the first column, the first consecutive difference, I'm just going to do 3 inputs this time. You can do as many as you want, but I think 3 is a good number to get an accurate picture of what we're looking at. So to set this table up, you need 3 columns that I've drawn here. The first, of course, is your input column. And I'm going to use a 0, a 1, and a 2 on this one. The function is what we are given, and that is 1/4 x plus 4. So that's the function that we're going to have to evaluate. And because this is linear, we want to know the first consecutive difference. So I'm going to say consecutive difference, and we're looking at the first column, so it's the first one. So here is the function that we need to evaluate. This fractional piece right there. So this is the first time I think we've seen a function with a fraction, but that's okay. We can handle this. So I'm going to input 0. I have 1/4 of 0 plus 4. Anything times 0 is 0. And then add 4 is 4. So there's your y-intercept. I'm going to just make a note up here that this is the y-intercept, the point 0, 4. Okay. And then I'm going to input a 1. Now be careful with your fraction. That is saying 1/4 times 1. And if you're using that as a fraction key, you will get the fraction out 1/4 when you multiply that. If you want to change 1/4 to a decimal, you would get 0.25, and that will work just as well. But either way, your answer, your output is 4 1/4. And then I want to take 1/4 of 2 and add that to 4. 1/4 of 2 is a half. And if you add that to 4, you get 4 1/2. Again, this step is multiplying. 1/4 times 2. So now I'm ready to look at these outputs to see what my consecutive difference is going to be. So remember, we take the lower one first, so 4 1/4 minus the top one of 4 is 1/4. We take 4 1/2 minus 4 1/4, and we get 1/4. And I really like to see a few more than that, but since we know this is linear, they've already told us it's linear, we're okay here. We can say that the common consecutive difference is 1/4, or the decimal 0.25 if you're doing it in decimal form. So let's look at our choices and see which one is true. The common consecutive difference is more than 1. That is a false statement because the common consecutive difference is a fourth, and a fourth is less than 1. The common consecutive difference is 0.25. That is true because 1/4 and 0.25 are the same. The first consecutive differences are not constant. Well, that's false because they're both the same thing. They are constantly 1/4. The common consecutive difference is negative. That's false because it is a positive 0.25. We know that the common consecutive difference is 0.25 or 1/4. It is not a negative number. The common consecutive difference is equivalent to the y-intercept. That really doesn't even make sense to me because y-intercept, I guess they're talking about the 4. Let's look at it that way. That's what they're saying. To me, a y-intercept is a point. It's a coordinate. But what they're saying is the y-intercept is 4. That's where it crosses y. And 4 is not the same thing as 1/4. Those are two entirely different numbers. So the answer that you want on this problem is B. The common consecutive difference is 1/4.